Cap or no cap? If you hold in a fart, it will absorb back into your body.
Yes. So you have 10 metres of gut. Farts are usually generated by bacteria in your large intestine. They're necessary, those bacteria. You don't want to get rid of them. They're good for you. If you do not have those bacteria, you would end up eating twice as much as you do. 2 breakfasts, 2 lunches, 2 dinners. And you'd be 2/3 of your weight, and you'd be weak and sickly, and your brain would not be fully developed because the bacteria attack the long-chain carbohydrates and turn them into free fatty acids, which are essential for your brain development. But they also make the gas. And it's like, do you want to be a fully rounded person, or do you want to have farts? Pick one. Or actually, they go together. They're together. You want to be fully rounded, you've got to have farts as well. And so the gut is surrounded by blood vessels to absorb the nutrients, and besides absorbing the nutrients, they will absorb some of the gas. And in fact, just recently we've had an update on farts 2024. So firstly, here's a question for you without notice, Sam. Did you know that there is an app called Chart Your Fart?
I didn't, but I wish I did.
So it's there, and it's Australian, and you have a fart and then you rate it, and under various qualities. And one of the qualities is described by the word linger, as in how long was the smell of your fart discernible, and it ranges from fleeting, it went to perpetual, 3 days later. Okay. Second update on farts. You need the fart gases. We've discovered that the fart gases are not simply gases that just take off. But, for example, are you familiar with sulfur dioxide, rotten egg gas, bad smell in chemistry? Bad smell in farts, but in low levels, essential for handling the perception of pain and inflammation. And methane, which is another part of the fart gas, which you can ignite. Do not do this experiment at home, folk. If you've worked in casualty, you've seen terrible burns from this. The methane actually slows down the rate at which food goes to your gut, so it helps regulate not too fast and not too slow. So yes, no cap. Hang on, wait a sec. So what was the question again?
If you hold in a fart, it will absorb back into your body.
No cap. Oh, hang on. No cap. So now I've got to say the negative. So I've got to say no lie. Okay,
yeah.
Right, okay, which is truth. Now, why isn't the other way around? Why isn't cap true instead of false? Okay, let's just go with the flow. Okay.
I love this. This is the most fun.
They're making my brain work backwards here. And that's the trouble with reading medical journals. They'll have double and sometimes triple negatives. It's not necessarily the case that you don't always not have this when this doesn't happen. What?
Okay.
Yep.
Cap or no cap?
Yep.
Blood is blue until it's exposed to oxygen.
That is a lie, and therefore it's a cap, and it's related to the fact that the veins are underneath the skin, and that helps them give a bluey tinge, whereas the arteries are deeper, they're at higher pressure. You don't want them so close to the skin, and the blood is maybe a little bit darker, but definitely not blue. No. So that is a cap or lie, as we hip young youth call it.
Cap or no cap, do your fingernails keep growing after you die?
That is a lie, so therefore that is cap. What happens is that you dehydrate and the flesh pulls away from the fingernails. And the flesh pulls away from the scalp, showing you a little bit more of your dark roots just after you had your hair dyed a lovely blonde colour.
Okay, cap or no cap, we only use 10% of our brains.
Definitely a cap. That came to us around the beginning of the 20th century when a famous philosopher wrote a book in which he said we use only 10% of our brain capacity, and then went on to explain that we could use more if you trained yourself. So do you play tennis, Dr. Samantha?
No.
Okay, so firstly, you're a fairly lousy tennis player. If you sort of just went on and played a lot, you'd be fairly good. But if you took lessons, you'd be even better. You might not get to Wimbledon standard, but you would certainly get better if you did training. And that's what they were talking about. That was then picked up and then used in the foreword of a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie in 1937. And in the foreword it said, "It is generally accepted, according to Professor such and such from Harvard, that we use only 10% of our mental capacity." And then that got brought forward in the movie Lucy with Scarlett Johansson, where she acquires the ability to use all of her brain, and we are then led to believe that if you use all of your brain by buying this herbal supplement, you will then be able to have perfect handwriting, never have diseases, and be able to win Nobel Prizes and Olympic gold medals, and it's all a lie. It is possible to use 100% of your mental capacity. That's called status epilepticus. In other words, your body is just fitting, every bit of your brain is firing at once, and that is a medical emergency. And you calm them down. In the old days it was Valium. I don't know what it is anymore. You don't want to have all your brain firing at once. But over a period of day, you will use all of your brain in the same way as you will use all of your muscles in a period of a day. Are you familiar, Dr. Samantha, with a disease? Have you heard of this disease, tetanus?
Yes.
Have you been vaccinated against it?
Yes.
Good. Get vaccinated. Everybody get vaccinated. Don't believe the lies about not being vaccinated. Anyway, have you seen a picture of somebody suffering from tetanus? The typical picture you're shown in medical school, or it's there on Wikipedia, is a picture of a man with extreme tetanus, arched, with his belly facing the sky, curved into an arch with only the back of his head and his heels touching the ground. And the reason that he's arched is that your back muscles are stronger than your tummy muscles. And so they contract you into an arch with your belly facing forward. And the trouble is that if you want to breathe, you've got to use some muscles to go. And so in that way you straighten your diaphragm and then you let it relax. And so you want to use a muscle and then let it relax. But in the case of tetanus, your muscles are switched on and you take a breath and you can't let the air out and you die.
Goodness me.
So that is a cap or lie that you use only 10% of your brain capacity.
Beautiful. This is so great. Okay. Okay, we'll do one more. Let's do one more. We're running out of time. So...
but I can stay here as long as you like.
Okay, let's do cap or no cap. Shaving makes your hair grow back thicker.
Unfortunately, it's a cap. If only it were true, I would shave my scalp and get more hair coming back. But no, it's the growing is weird of these so-called body appendages, and hair is counted as a body appendage, and it's determined a lot by your DNA and then by what happens when you're still, in my favourite organ, the uterus, and then what happens in later life. So it's genetically determined that you're going to have, on average, 5 fingers and toes on hand and 5 toes, including a big toe, on your feet. But then the length, the ratio of your index finger and your middle finger, they're, in a male, don't know for a female, controlled by the ratio, how high the testosterone level is in the mother. And then it's further determined by what happens to you after you're born. So with regard to hair, that follows a genetically predetermined pattern overwhelmingly. So the hair on your eyebrows is short, but every now and then one escapes the commands and grows distressingly long and you pluck it out. Thank you, Lola, for teaching me that. There's a bird. Thank you, Lola, for teaching me that. And your scalp hair in a... how do you say this? Take 2. In a male or female that hasn't reached maturity, say early 20s, it's about a maximum of 3/4 of a metre in a female, 1/2 a metre in a male, then gradually decreases because you're supposed to have your children by then and evolution doesn't care, and then it gradually decreases, and it then follows the relationship between the different types of testosterone receptors on your hair follicles and the different levels of types of different testosterone in your body as you get older.
Goodness me. Okay, let's do one more then. Swallowed chewing gum takes 7 years to digest.
Cap. So, are you familiar with your American history?
No.
Texas.
I'm aware of Texas, yeah. That's about as far as it goes.
The Battle of the Alamo. Haven't heard of the Battle of the Alamo?
No.
Santa Ana. So, the United States staged a war with Mexico and had all their forces there in preparation, so they won that battle and increased their territory enormously by taking over Texas. And there was a Mexican general called Santa Anna who ended up winning the Battle of the Alamo, where all the defenders were killed. And then the story goes that he was then captured by Houston, as in the town Houston, General Houston, but, and we don't know if this is true, gave him the secret Mason handshake. You know that Masons have a secret handshake?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, right. So he gave him the secret handshake, and so therefore Houston couldn't kill him.
Okay.
So he let him free. And he couldn't go back to Mexico because he'd lost the battle. So he went to New York. And then he brought in chicle, which was something that the Mexicans had had for thousands of years, as chewing gum. Now, in certain cases, you can end up with chewing gum gumming up your insides. And we're talking about a young child, usually, having chocolate-covered or lolly-covered or sweet-covered chewing gum in vast, vast amounts, unsupervised by a parent, and then they can actually end up with this big blob. It's very rare, but it does happen. It's in the medical literature, in emergency department literature, and in that case, you have to go up from one end and sort of, or the other end, and try to get out depending on where it is. But that's very, very rare. Overwhelmingly, it comes in and goes out the other end on schedule with everything else, depending on the gut transit time, which is short if you have a high fibre diet, maybe 20 hours, and long, 20, 40, 60 hours if you have a low fibre diet. And it seems to be good to have a high fibre diet because that means less bowel cancer on average. So it is a lie or a cap that chewing gum stays in your gut for 7 years. And notice that number 7. Yeah. Have you noticed how often lies have the number 7 in them?
Oh, no, I hadn't.